Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Born to Lead docuseries, which is a part of the A Queens Roundtable show and podcast. I have another awesome individual that's going to be joining me in the studio momentarily. Of course, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before she gets here. But before I actually go into that, I want to say the realizing your potential. Oh, actually, I don't know. Did I even introduce myself? Oh my God. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. It has been one of those days, okay? It's been like a day and a half all put into one, and it's not even close to being over yet. So I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. I'm your host, and the Eight Queens Roundtable show and podcast, the Born to Lead docuseries, airs every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are interested in also being interviewed, reach out to me via email, Facebook, or LinkedIn. That's where I hang out. And let's have a conversation and make it happen. Also, this particular, or shall I say, the Eight Queens Roundtable show airs on the Realizing Your Potential TV network. We are available on various streaming platforms such as Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. We are also, of course, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to check us out from your mobile, we're in the iOS store as well as the Android app store. Okay. So there is no reason that you cannot tune in to us and actually catch not only this interview, but all of the other interviews that I have lined up for the Born to Lead docuseries. So today in the studio, I have Miss Shaunna Lee. She is a transformational speaker, storyteller, strategist, and the host of Empowered Endeavors. Oh, I like that. The podcast about bold reinvention, empowering voices, and the stories we tell when we're ready to start again. Where business and strategy, no, I'm sorry, where business strategy and purpose come together to turn your passion into a platform and take you from an idea to implementation so you can create real impact. After 2 decades in corporate business strategy, she now helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs and creatives share their message through powerful content, aligned storytelling, and thought leadership. Aren't you excited to hear from her? I know I am. All right, Miss Shaunna. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
You are. You are. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And also, too, I just want to say I like your background over there.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
this is my new studio. I've just set it
yeah,
up. I'll have to show you what it really looks like. But yeah, it looks great on camera.
very nice. I like it.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, so I've given the audience just a little blurb about you, but I want to give you the opportunity now to tell us a little bit more about who is Shaunna, like how your business, came
Yeah.
about, whatever, personal information you want to share, and just basically who you serve and how you serve.
Well, I'll tell you, it all started with the book I wrote, which is not ever a book I set out to write, let me tell you. So it was after my third divorce that I found myself kind of reeling and doing a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out, if my life is not over, because it felt very much like it was over, what am I going to do? And how do I give this terrible experience some meaning and some purpose? And how do I use my quote unquote failure to help other people? And so I wrote my book, and it's called So You're Divorced, So What? It is the prettiest divorce book you will ever read. And I did that on purpose because, one, I wanted to serve women. I see many, many women get stuck after divorce, just get stuck and not be able to move forward. And so I wanted to help them for the sake of their children, essentially, because happy moms are better moms. And so I wanted to help get those moms who were struggling to get forward to a happier, more fulfilled place. Well, wouldn't you know, the book catapulted into the podcast. The podcast has morphed, and now I've got coaching programs. And what I'm focused on this year, specifically with the podcast, it is called Empowered Endeavors. And it really was trying to bring my 2 decades of corporate experience, business strategy, project management to people such as divorced women. They're part of my audience so that they can start again. So they can write the book, they can start the podcast, they can start the business, whatever medium they are choosing. We all have a voice and a story to tell. And what I have found in my podcast experience is that when people share their story, that's where their power comes out. And that's where they're able to inspire other people. They become expanders for everyone who's listening to the story, and it kind of expands their view for what's possible for their life. So that is me, and that is what I do, and I am having a blast.
That is awesome. I love it. So when did all of this start? I know you said you started with the book. So when was that? And how, what has been the course of your business? Have you been an entrepreneur now for 5 years, 10 years?
It is, let me do the math really quickly. Whatever 2018 to now is, what is that? This is the 8th year. So it was 2018 that I lost 2 corporate jobs. So I was let go from one and then mutually decided the second one within the same year that it was not a good fit. And I found myself really reeling after that. And it was not too long after, it was a couple years after that divorce. So I was getting kind of my bearings about me as a single mom when both those jobs were kind of, the rug was pulled out from underneath me. And so that was really when I was trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to do now? And I wrote a novel, which has yet to be published, and kind of learned my process of writing and realized I had some things to say. And so all of the ideas for these projects that I've taken on, my babies, so to speak, they all came to me during meditation. And so it was in those really still, quiet moments when I would hear just the word podcast. And I thought, am I supposed to be on podcast? Am I supposed to start a podcast? What is this? And so just, one thing leads to another. And then I don't think we ever really know where it's leading. We kind of have some ideas, and just like the writing process for my novel, I would sit down to write a certain chapter, and then it would go left, and then it would go right. And I would just never was quite the direction I thought it was going to go, but it ends up in a really great place.
Okay. I guess that just really goes to show you that you just have to be flexible.
Mm.
And sometimes you have to pivot and just kind of go with it, because if you had kept saying to yourself, oh, this is not the direction I'm supposed to go, this is what I originally thought, and I'm going to stick with that, then I'm pretty sure you would have had, oh, let me see, there we go, one of those alerts. So sorry guys, I thought I had silenced that. Still working on that. If anyone knows you have an iPhone, let me know. Okay, so yeah, so that's, and it all happened in due time. That was what was supposed to happen. That was what was supposed to come out of you at that moment. You know what I mean? So everything worked. I guess some people might say, in divine, order.
Divine
That was the
timing.
way.
Yeah,
that was the way.
Yeah,
it was supposed to come out.
I completely believe that. Believe that, and I think that I am a recovering impatient person. I have been the most impatient person on the planet. And so for me, it really has been a lesson in patience and a lesson in persistence, and lots of doubt along the way. I think in 3 marriages, I can see how relationships bring up all our wounding and all of our stuff that we have to heal. And becoming an entrepreneur did the same thing for me. So it was bringing up a lot of different things where I had limiting beliefs. And I think honestly, that's why most entrepreneurs struggle on the first or second, business idea out of the gate, is because it's bringing up your stuff to look at. And if you don't face it, it'll be the obstacle.
Okay. Yeah, I had to chew on that there for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I look at life, everything is a journey, and we're always learning. And every time, that's one of the reasons why I love doing this. Every time I talk with someone, it doesn't matter if as we kind of both acknowledged a little bit earlier during our, little discussion, before going live here, is that, we may have similar audiences, and but the thing of it is, we all have a different path, and we can all learn something from one another,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
of course I've heard before that, and I've experienced it, that a relationship, intimate relationship is really good at, peeling those band-aids off things you thought you had dealt
Yep.
with, coming to find out, nope, you didn't,
Nope,
and
you didn't.
right. And I think I agree in terms of the entrepreneurship. And I think it's
Yeah.
because of the vulnerability piece, right?
Yes.
'Cause if you think about it,
Yes.
you're very vulnerable in a relationship, when your heart's on the line, as well
Yep.
as, in entrepreneurship, because a lot of times it's all new. We're not coming out the gate with all of the answers.
Yeah.
We may think we know certain things, but oftentimes, up didn't know that either, or that's not what I expected. So it's an area of vulnerability and being like way outside of that comfort zone. And I think that's the sort of
Oh, for
breeding
sure.
ground that lets all of the self doubt and things of that nature kind of
Yeah, and
top. So
I don't know if a lot of people think about that when they go down the path of starting a business necessarily. You think, "Oh, I see a problem, I'm going to solve the problem
yep,
and then it will just work." And the truth of the matter is, if you're a solopreneur and you are going out there and having to be the face of your business, it'll bring up all your fears around visibility and your fears around, being seen. Or misunderstood. That was a big one for me. Having people truly understand what I'm doing when the people closest to me in my closest, tightest circle didn't always understand what I was doing. And it made them uncomfortable to see me take risks. And so it brought up a lot of my fears around people not getting me. And
yep,
so it's been quite the journey to become an entrepreneur. And it's interesting because when I was in college, I went to UT, and my first job out of college was at Dell. And Michael Dell came to speak to my class there at the business school. And it was interesting to me that I saw the irony in the fact that this entrepreneur was coming. He had this, great, impressive company that he had built while he was a college dropout at UT. And I thought, well, this is interesting that you're coming to talk to the business school. Smart man, he had lots to say. And I think even back then, I noticed my desire to learn more about being an entrepreneur. And I understood that there was the ability to call the shots was really important to me. I like to control the narrative. Therefore, my whole platform is talking about storytelling, and that's how we can control our narrative. I just think there's a lot of power and freedom that comes from that.
absolutely. As I'm sitting here, see how this wasn't planned to talk about, for us to bring up the whole thing about the vulnerability piece and comparing,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship to um, intimate relationships. But when you begin to talk, and you're speaking openly, candidly, through authenticity, these are the types of things that come up, and I think that this could be beneficial for a lot of people. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
appreciate you bringing that up. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we always have these mirrors to our experiences, right? So it can be in those intimate relationships, it can be in business, it can be with our friends. And I think we have the opportunity to kind of see our stuff and address it if we want to or not. But yeah, I think it's all connected. It's all tied together. And um, I don't know. It's been a fun little journey when I could just let go of the reins a little bit and let it go where it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I know we're gonna, dive into the leadership piece. It was something else I wanted to piggyback on just real quick when you mentioned other, people like in your inner circle that didn't really fully understand what you were doing, and how their I guess their nervousness,
Oh,
around you
yes.
taking certain risks made you, maybe second guess yourself and things of that nature. And I know I went through that, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of
Yeah.
other entrepreneurs out there that have gone through something very similar, because you have
Absolutely.
vision, but it doesn't mean, and the people around you, there could be different circumstances. maybe they just don't they want to understand, but they don't understand, or they're not even trying to understand. But
Yeah.
still, it still causes you to feel a certain way. You know what I mean? You kind of have to
Oh,
navigate
for
through all
sure.
of that.
Yeah, I think that's where your conviction will come from, right? Because in those moments of doubting yourself based on feedback you're getting, it can make you question whether you're doing the right thing or not. And I think that's where it's really important to come back to your why and sit in that conviction of I know what I'm doing, I'm on a path, and really tap into your own intuition. I think that has been a big lesson for me is one of discernment, being able to take someone's feedback and understand whether or not that it is true for me. And in the beginning, I took everybody's feedback to heart and I was offended and second guessed myself. It really happened in the beginning, mostly when I was writing my book and I had lots of questions. And it wasn't until probably the third or fourth, like, whoosh, piece of feedback that I got that I thought, wait a second, this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with the way they view the world and the fears they have for themselves that made them afraid for me. Um, and so, yeah, I've learned to sit back and when I'm getting feedback that doesn't feel so great, or I'm not so sure if it is for me or not, I just ask myself, has this person done what I'm trying to do? And that usually is enough for me to say, okay, this is just their fear talking or something along those lines, because I want to hear from people who've done the thing I'm trying to do. And if they are telling me I'm making a mistake or there's a better way to look at it, I am open to hearing and seeing a different way. But if they haven't, it's usually just their own limits that are kind of blocking
Yep.
what
And
I'm
it's
doing. Yeah.
amazing that people have so much to say
So
that
much to
that
say.
know very little about what you're doing. That's amazing to me, but that's a
It
whole
is.
other show.
It could be a whole episode just on that.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is now I feel led to ask this. So what kind of comes to my mind is I'm thinking about confidence. So confidence,
Mm,
self confidence, and I'm a firm believer that when we go outside of our comfort zone, we build those muscles, and that's how we begin to build trust in ourselves that we can whatever
yes.
comes our way we can handle. So
Yes.
what what feedback do you have in reference to leadership and self-confidence?
Well, I would say I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think as we take risks and we start doing the things that we're kind of called to do, whether you're writing a blog because you want to one day write a book, whatever it is, the more you just tiptoe in and start doing it, you build your confidence and you realize, oh wait, I can do hard things and I can learn new things, and that does get you to a place of feeling more confident. I think true leadership comes from those moments of kind of forging the path for other people. So I think being able to me, being a leader is really just nothing more than me shining my light and sharing who I am with the world, because the metaphor, the vision I have for that is that it's then lighting the path for other people. And it's not that I'm telling them where to go or what to do, but I'm showing them how I've done it. And I think that's what a leader is you go first, you speak first, you share what you know, and you quite simply just shine your light, and that leads other people to their own path.
Oh my God, I love that. You know what? You are just I love you to death. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
that is so I love it. I don't even have words for it right now, everybody. Just that I
Oh
love it.
my.
You know what I mean? It's you said to you, leadership is just shining a light and basically walking through your personal journey and sharing that journey with
Yeah.
others. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
I
It
think
feels true
that's
to
profound.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, or at least I know for me, leadership was kind of like this. I don't know, I don't want to say taboo, but it was a scary word for me, you know.
Oh,
And
same.
oh, okay, okay. So
Yes, yes.
so so let's roll with that for a minute. So I feel like I remember, being younger, coming up, just navigating the world, when I first graduated high school and getting into college and everything. I just remember feeling like I never literally considered myself to be any sort of a leader. And I find that as I talk to different women, and especially, I'm dating myself a little bit here, especially coming up in my era, we share similar views on leadership, and they may not have said those exact words as scary, but it was seen, it definitely wasn't seen as something that a woman would aspire to do.
Mm-mm.
Growing up, I was always told to be seen and not heard, to just take a seat somewhere and look pretty somewhere, just sit down, don't say too much, don't do too much, and that's what I saw
Mhm.
demonstrated by my mom, my aunts, my my grandmothers. Um, I didn't have, I didn't really have any aunts. I had aunts in the working world, but it wasn't like corporate, and it definitely wasn't anything in leadership. So for me coming up, that always just seemed like I was so far removed from that. Like that wasn't even anything I could even associate with me. And
Yes.
that resonated with me because when I first started, going live, when I first started my podcast, going live, I was talking about my experience with
Yeah.
rebuilding and rebuilding my self-esteem and connecting with myself, and actually accepting who I was. And it started off by me just literally sharing my journey. Because at
Yeah.
first I was like, I can't lead anyone. I don't, have any, I didn't even really think I had much to say that would even benefit anyone,
You
you
know,
know.
I thought the same thing when I started my podcast. I was like, I think I'm going to run out of things to say. Little did I know that is never going to happen.
'Cause you know what? Even if you're not necessarily talking about things from the past, I still
Yeah.
learn things today. Like maybe, like I work in mental health. I may talk to a client and they may have said something to me, and it kind of, I sit with it, and it
Yeah.
helps me to learn more about myself. Because
Absolutely.
we're growing and we're constantly changing. Just because you are who you are today, you're not going to be, well, hopefully you wouldn't be that same person in 5 years or
I
10
mean,
years.
I think that's the goal, right? Growth and evolution. Your soul is here to grow. It wasn't until I looked at my numerology and I realized I'm a life path 1 that
Mm,
is born to lead. And I thought, I am no leader. I am not going to lead a company or go into politics. Like, I just didn't see myself as a leader at all. And so I think that's where my definition of leadership has come from, is because it really was just like you described, coming back to myself and learning who I am, accepting me for who I am, that allowed me to show up authentically. And just to see how empowering it is to start telling your story and share your experiences, and how that has a positive impact on other people. It was really just eye opening. And I thought, oh gosh, okay, yeah, this is another way I can look at leadership. And I am leading the way, leading this whole podcast that people are excited to come on. And I did not set out to be a leader by any means, but here I am living my life path.
and that's what I find. I mean, some women I've interviewed, they say when I was a young girl, I knew I was going to be a leader. I was
Yeah.
always, I
Oh,
don't know,
that's so
let's say
impressive
bossing
to
people
me.
around. I don't like it necessarily when people say that, but I know what they mean. Always had
Sure.
something to say, always had an opinion and a vision, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other women that just kind of, I just use the word just for lack of a better word, just kind of fall into it, or gently
Mhm.
lean into it and like, oh yeah, I'm here, because you're right. Even though you're not running a, corporate 500
Yeah,
company, you're leading people just by your podcast.
yeah,
Like I remember
absolutely.
actually talking to people, and maybe I might have interviewed them, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years into my business, let's just say. And they'll say something like, well, I remember when you first started out, your episodes were so inspiring to me. It made me decide to start my business, or start on my healing journey. And I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's amazing. But in it, like you said, it was just me just telling my
Yeah.
story and just talking openly about different
Yeah.
things that I had experienced and continue to experience and how I'm working through it. And and nothing is perfect.
Mm-mm.
Not just to say you're going to take all the right steps, make all the right decisions. No, it's not about that. But I do recognize that at the end of the day, it's how I view it, how I perceive it, right?
Yep.
I assigned the meaning
Always.
to it.
Yep.
Right. So I assigned the meaning, and I've learned something from it. So that whole idea of me falling on my face or all, a flop and this and that and the other, I took all of that, and it took a while. I'm not gonna say it was an
Yeah.
overnight process, but I just removed all of that, because we're gonna make mistakes, and I can still go on. It's not gonna kill me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, I remind the friends of mine in my life who are parenting young adults, and I remind them that, first of all, it's like, I feel like parenting young adults is like watching the train wreck about to happen. Like, what's about to happen. This is bad news bears. It's not going to be good. And you just have to sit there and witness it and be available to be the support when they fall on their face and it doesn't work out. And we as parents want to come in and swoop in and protect them and keep them safe and in their little bubble and never, but that's not how we learn. We learn from making mistakes. And so it has been a journey for me to get to the point where I can embrace my mistakes and accept that I'm not going to get it right. I teach this program on how to launch a podcast in 30 days. So in 4 weeks, I will help someone launch their podcast. And one of the things that I say over and over and over again is you're going to learn more in the doing. When you mess up and you make mistakes, you just have to start doing it, because then you're going to grow and evolve and learn what's important to you. Because there's so many different options with every single facet of podcasting that you're going to figure out what's best for you and your show, but you're not going to figure it out until you start doing it. And so it really is just about practicing and making mistakes and figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, as you talked about the young people, I have one child and he's 14. So I'm moving into that phase
Mm-hmm.
of, how did you describe it? Watching a train wreck?
Yes. It's probably not the most gentle picture, but yeah, it's felt that way. Yeah.
You're like, okay, not a good idea, but
Okay.
okay,
I don't think
okay,
this is going to work out so well for you, but I'll be here no
I'll
matter
be
what.
here. You know where I am,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
talk to
And I
me in
think
about
it
2 years.
shifts. Like, my oldest daughter is 31 now. So I've got 31 and 29. And so I have fully launched 2 children, whatever that means. And yeah, it's when they're navigating adulthood and trying to do so much on their own that they really still do need us as parents. I also have so I have 4 kids, one boy, and he is 15. And the youngest is 12. And so these 2 little ones, we're still at mid-launch, and they're less of a train wreck right now. But it's like the college years and the early adult years. It's like, oh dear, okay, let me know how that works out for you. Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, talk to me. I don't know, I may not even have any hair. I got a little bit on my head now. Who knows?
mine
Talk to me
go
in two
gray
years.
now.
You don't know what's gonna happen. I'll be bald.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
So yeah, okay. So yeah, just when you said that about the train wreck, I thought that was really cute. Like you said, it gets the
Yeah.
point across.
It does. It does. It does. And it's not always a hot mess. They get a lot of things right, but I think that our job as parents shifts, and so it becomes you're just the safety net. You give them the safe place to land when things don't go right. And I've always aspired to, I saw this somewhere, a video meme or something along the way, and I've always aspired to be the kind of mom that when something goes wrong in their life, they think, "Oh, I need to call mom," not, "Oh, I don't want to call mom," or "I can't tell mom." Like, I want to be that place for them to know that it's safe to come when things go wrong, because, well, we know things go wrong.
I hadn't thought about that. 'Cause I have the one, and this is all new to me. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I like that. Again, I like that too, because you
Yeah.
you you don't want them to feel like, oh, I don't want
Oh,
to
I
tell her.
can't
She's
tell
gonna
her.
say I told
Yeah.
you so, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So yes,
Yeah.
so I can start working on that.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Okay, so we're going back to leadership. So
Leadership.
leadership. So let me ask. Let's see. What am I gonna ask, Miss Shauna? How about this? I was thinking about this. I had taken a couple of notes here earlier. So what would you say? And this is just a basic, typical leadership question, but you can kind of navigate it any way you choose. But what would you say? How do you, and you're not directly over individuals. I was thinking about, because this is always interesting. I always like to ask, as a leader, how do you help motivate other people? But I guess
Mhm.
not. Do you have a team?
So I don't have a team, but I have regularly hired people to help me.
Okay.
And in my past life, I've definitely been mentor and leader of teams. I think when it comes to, I really pull from my project management experience when I answer this question, because this is the epitome of influence and motivation with zero power. So as a project manager,
Wait,
I
say
like to
this
say,
again. Say that again.
so as a project manager, you're really just making sure everyone's doing their job, but you have no authority over they don't report to you, they report to other people. So you have no power to actually move things along. You have influence, you have motivation, you have all these soft, touchy feely skills. And for me, I always refer to project management as babysitting adults, because I'm essentially just making sure they do their job. Somebody else has said, this is your job, you should do it. And we're all working together on this project. And for me, this is where the soft skills of interacting with people comes to play. So getting to know people on a person to person level is how I can understand what motivates them. It's how I can understand what's important to them. And and I think when we build rapport and we just build a relationship with someone and you get to know them for who they are, first of all, it's harder for people to then be a schmuck to you and not do what they're supposed to do. But also, I think it just makes us all feel more connected, like we've got this united purpose and we are moving in the same direction. The other example that's coming to mind is my ex-husband. So we're co-parenting these two small children together. Well, they're medium children now, but um, I have no power or authority or influence over this man, nor does he over me. And so I oftentimes will have to say, okay, and I want to be able to influence the conversation or the direction that we're going for whatever's best for my kids. And so what has worked really well is reminding him that we're on the same team. We're on the same page. We're going in the same direction. We both want the same thing. We have different ways of getting there. We don't necessarily see eye to eye. We're not going to agree on, what step 1, 2, and 3 looks like, but we're both going in the same place. We both want what's best for these kids. We want them to be happy. We want them to be well-rounded, contributing members to society. And so that to me has been the best way for me to influence and motivate people to kind of get on a common purpose ground, is just to remind us all. And the more I think that we can connect as humans and be pointed in the same direction together, the easier that becomes for us to work together instead of, pulling tug of war in different directions. That was kind of a lengthy answer.
Yeah, well, it was great. I loved it, and the analogies and everything. So considering that, and I know we could talk on for a while. Maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point. But I
I
want
would
to
love that.
kind of move it towards wrapping it up. So I want to give you this opportunity to do two things. One, what do you want to leave the audience with as it pertains to, leadership development? And two, go ahead and share, how they can find you, in terms of connecting with you on
Oh,
social
sure.
media platforms. Tell them again the name of your podcast, your book, and yeah, so those two things.
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to leadership and stepping into the leader that you are, it really doesn't have to be complicated. All you have to do is be authentically you, show up as you, and shine your light. And when you do that, you will lead the path for other people naturally. And yes, if you like to hear more of what I say, I would love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where you can find all the things that I'm doing. And it's Shaunna Lee on LinkedIn. So come connect with me. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you.
Oh, that was very simple. People are like, oh, well, on LinkedIn, I'm under this name. On Facebook and IG, I'm under this name. And TikTok,
Yeah.
you know, that was very simple. Okay. All
Well, I am doing what I teach, and that is one clear call to action at the end of every episode. And you don't want to confuse people. You want to keep it really simple and tell them where to go and how to find you. And I mean, everything I'm doing is on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can find the book, the podcast, and any course I'm doing, any event I'm speaking at. Like it's all there. It's all there. So it's the easiest
right.
way.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking with you.
It has been
Just
super
having
fun. Thank you.
yeah, this has been great. Everyone, thank you again for all of your support over the years. Again, make sure you check out the other interviews from the Born to Lead docuseries and everything else that's on the network. So, and if you're interested in being interviewed on the show, then reach out to me. I can be found on LinkedIn and Facebook under Dr. Jacqueline Kaba Harrison, or you can shoot me an email at realizingyourpotential123@gmail.com. So until next time, everyone, take care, and I will see you again soon. All righty. Bye bye now.